Warning, this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside podcast. I am your host, John Venom. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. And please, don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And welcome back to the Demon Inside.
We turn now to that developing news in an alleged murder spree out of Laredo. Tonight, a Border Patrol agent is under arrest. Channel 5's Valerie Gonzalez tells us 4 women were killed.
On Labor Day weekend, a woman's body was discovered in a remote part of Laredo. This week, again, another female body was found in the same area. Isidro Alaniz, Webb County District Attorney, said a pattern slowly emerged.
Well, with the first two murders, there were some similarities, but obviously things began to become more clear as each murder took place. And the MO and the way the bodies were discarded and where the injuries were and the type of people they were. So, things started to match up that we did have a serial killer.
The spree was confirmed this morning. At 1 a.m., a woman escaped the grasp of her kidnapper. She sought safety with a law enforcement officer. Information she provided during interrogation led officers to Juan Ortiz. Authorities found him at a gas station. Ortiz fled. He was caught at a nearby parking lot. At 2 a.m., Webb County Sheriff's Office and DPS investigators found a 3rd female victim. At 1 p.m. this afternoon, they found a 4th woman. District Attorney Alani says there were similarities between the crimes.
I do believe that these were people of the street, either engaging in or in some sort of prostitution. It seems that he was seeking out his victims, targeting his victims, and that they were killed in a similar fashion, and their bodies disposed of in similar fashion. So it has all the indicators of being a serial murder spree.
Alani says Ortiz is a 10-year veteran with Border Patrol. This is the first time his office simultaneously handles 2 homicide investigations involving Border Patrol agents. The other case involves an agent accused of killing a woman and their child in April.
It's very unusual that something like this happens, especially around the same time. We're currently still prepping on the other capital murder case, and now we have a multiple murder case with this agent. So, unfortunate that's the situation. I don't think it's any reflection on Border Patrol.
Alaniz believes Ortiz to be a dangerous suspect. He said he'll be asking a judge to keep Ortiz behind bars.
Border Patrol released a statement today reading in part, "Our sincerest condolences go out to the victim's family and friends. While it is CBP policy to not comment on the details of an ongoing investigation, criminal action by our employees is not and will not be tolerated. The Texas Rangers and Webb County Sheriff's Office are investigating."
Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Venom, and today we will be doing the case of Juan David Ortiz. Now, I'm here in San Antonio, Texas. This is South Texas, and about 2.5 hours away is a small town called Laredo, which sits on the border between the United States and Mexico. It's probably one of the busiest border crossings in the nation. So in 2018, there was a serial spree killer. He had killed 4 sex workers These murders occurred in Laredo from September 3rd to September 15th of 2018. At that time, Juan David Ortiz was a supervisor of the Intelligence Department of the Border Patrol. And he was asked by the Laredo Police Department to look into one of the cases. Little did they know at that time that Juan David Ortiz was the killer they were looking for. But before we get into that, let me give you some background on Juan David Ortiz. He was born in Brownsville, Texas. He was the oldest child of 4 to a single mother. He was a good student in high school, and he was part of the swim team and in cross country. He was a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He was active in all aspects of the church and grew up with a strong faith. Ortiz was married to his high school sweetheart, and they had 3 children, and were active members in the Assembly of God Church. It's a Pentecostal church. A month after his 18th birthday, after he graduated from high school, he joined the U.S. Navy. Ortiz was stationed as a Navy student at Fort Sam Houston here in San Antonio. As we know, here in San Antonio, Fort Sam is a medical training facility for branches of the service. It's where they train the majority of the medical personnel for the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps. And let's not forget, just throwing this out there, Jeffrey Dahmer was also trained here at Fort Sam Houston. So Ortiz was assigned to 2 commands in California. They were both Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. He was transferred to the 1st Marine Division Detachment in California's Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center. It's the Marine Air Ground Task Force of the United States Marine Corps. It's made up of the 1st Marine Division, which he was in, the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing, and 1st Marine Logistics Group. So the IMEF, which is the Marine Expeditionary Force, provides forces to the U.S. Central Command and U.S. Indo-Pacific Command as directed. Ortiz, graduating from his school at Fort Sam and doing these trainings, became a combat medic. He served tours in Afghanistan and Kuwait, and he was in the middle of many confrontations overseas where he had to save many lives. Ortiz was actually a hero who saved soldiers overseas. He was there until April 5th, 2005. He was then assigned to the Navy Element Defense Medical Readiness Training Institute Detachment at Fort Sam Houston on April 25th, 2005, and he stayed until April 1st, 2008. So to me, this meant that he was actually training other soldiers on how to become combat medics. He was awarded the Joint Meritorious Award, the National Service Award, and the Rifle Marksmanship Medal. Given his military status, he probably had a top secret clearance. That's why when he was arrested, Navy investigators assisted the local law enforcement, but were tight-lipped regarding the specifics of their role in the Ortiz case. When he got out of the Navy, he went directly into the Border Patrol. So Ortiz joined the agency in August of 2009, first in the town of Cotulla and then Laredo. While he was a border agent, he earned a bachelor's degree from American Military University and a master's degree from St. Mary's University in Texas, which is here in San Antonio. A former emergency medical technician for the U.S. Navy who had done a tour of duty in Iraq said one of his buddies from the Marines told me that Doc, that was Ortiz's nickname, genuinely tire patterns from a truck. On September 13th of 2018, there was a second female shot and left near the first crime scene, and around her crime scene, the same evidence was found, 40 caliber shell casings, and they found tracks from a truck nearby. Police began to wonder if they had a serial killer. And they knew that both of these cases were connected because of that evidence. Witnesses also described a white truck in the area. Now, Ortiz kept going to work during the day and going home to his wife and 3 kids. And then he would go out at night and kill prostitutes. On September 14th, though, his wife and the 3 kids left the house, and he was alone at home. After he got off of work, he went home, changed, grabbed his gun, and went hunting at the San Bernardo Street in Laredo. This is where the prostitutes and drug dealers and everything, where all this happens, all this crime. He goes and picks up a woman named Erica Peña. And they go to his house, and she gets the strangest feeling that something is not right. As a matter of fact, it gets to the point where she feels like she's getting sick. She goes outside and she throws up on the sidewalk. He comes out realizing that he either needs to get her back inside or he needs to take her out of there because the neighbors. And so he asks, what can I do? And Erica says, take me to the store. So they go to the store. He parks way behind the store, not even in the parking lot, across the street from the store parking. He then takes out a gun. He points it at her. She starts fighting for her life. He grabs her blouse. She takes it off and runs. She goes to the fueling station where she sees a Texas Highway Patrol officer. She's shirtless, she has a bra on, and she's crying and she's freaking out. And she tells the patrol officer, the Texas Highway Patrol officer, that a man named David pulled a gun on her and she escaped from him. So this is a clip from the show 2020 with John Quinones of Erica Peña, who survived, and the Texas State Trooper Francisco Hernandez, who she started talking to. And this is from his body cam. So listen to this.
She begins to get panicked, and she's trying to leave the vehicle, and a struggle happens, and he ends up ripping off her shirt.
It was at this service station that investigators got their big break. A state trooper was pumping gas here when a shirtless woman ran up to him saying that a man was trying to kill her. And it was all captured on those security cameras.
So on that night, I finished refueling. All of a sudden, I see the lady coming from the side of the store, kind of rapid, walking towards my patrol car.
Me sacó la pistola y me quería subir y me empecé a gritar, help me, help me.
¿Ya se fue?
Sí. Ay, me asusté bastante, sir.
She had mentioned to me that she just had gotten assaulted by an individual and that this individual pointed a gun at her. I know, it's a shock. I mean, you just escaped from a possible kidnap.
Es que de repente me dio un feeling, sir, de algo de él, and he got very weird all of a sudden. I got a vibe.
A bad vibe.
A vibe.
Pero te asaltó él. Cuando te quitó la camisa.
Cuando me quitó la camisa, yo me zafé de la camisa hasta que.
The police take Erica to the police station to start getting her statement. At the police station, she starts saying that this guy, David, had taken her to his house, and she starts describing his house to a T. They ask her, is there any way you can take us to his house? She says, I'm not exactly sure where it's at, but I'll give it a shot. So they start driving her around, and they're looking for the house, and all of a sudden, she sees it and says, that's the house. So they run the house address, and they find out that it belongs to Juan David Ortiz. Now, they still don't know that he's a Border Patrol agent. They see the vomit on the sidewalk. They know it's his. They get a search warrant. They go into the house, and they find all the guns that Juan David Ortiz, after she escaped, he goes back to the house and starts getting all his guns ready for a gunfight with the police. But when they don't show up, he decides he's going to head back to the streets of San Bernardo in Laredo, to the street of San Bernardo, where he had been picking up his victims. He then picks up another woman. This is the same night. He picks up another woman, and they start to drive. According to him, he was crying, and he was saying that he was going to kill himself because he had done things and he would never be forgiven. She told him that he said that she started to pray for him and told him that there was nothing that he had done that God could not forgive. She was trying to keep him from killing himself. He drove until they ended up a little bit out of Laredo, down 35 between San Antonio and Laredo. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other towns in between, but basically going towards San Antonio. So he tells her that he killed the two girls. She still says that God can forgive you. You need to turn yourself in. I'm praying for you. He tells her, get out of my truck. I don't want you in my truck anymore. Get out of my truck. Is this him because he's feeling a conscience? No. Is this the demon because they don't want prayer? Possibly. Or is this just him trying to get her out of the truck? Now, this is what he tells her. He says, get out of my truck, start walking, and you're going to either head right, which is going to take you back to Laredo, or you're going to head left, which is going to take you to San Antonio. He goes, I suggest you go left and go to San Antonio. So she gets out of the truck and she starts to walk away. Now, according to him, she stopped. She actually turns around and comes back to the truck. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. Hey guys, and now it's time for the Uber shout out of the week. So I have one Uber shout out, which is really strange. I got a call to pick up a guy, and I found out that he is a sales manager here at Mazda, at World Car Mazda North, where I actually work as a security guard. So when I stopped to pick him up, he looked at me and said, aren't you supposed to be doing security? So we made a deal, and I told him about the podcast as I was driving him to his destination, and I told him that I would give him free publicity if he didn't say anything and if I didn't do Uber anymore during my work shifts. He agreed, and hopefully that's the last we've ever heard of it, and I knew this would end up happening eventually, but this shout out is for Paul Blunser, and I usually don't give a last name, but he is a manager here, a sales manager here at World Car Mazda. So if you guys are looking for a car here in San Antonio, if you come down 35 North near Pat Booker Road, this guy is the guy you guys need to talk to. He's a great guy in helping you, and he will find you a good car for a good price. And I wouldn't mention too much about me, picking them up as an Uber driver, but hey. The second shout out I have isn't actually from Uber, but the second shout out is to Matthew. And Matthew is on my the Demon Inside group chat, which is on Facebook. And he actually sent me saying that he's been a long-time listener and he enjoys the show. And Matthew, I appreciate it. And I told him I would send him a shout-out on this one, and he was very excited about it. So Matthew and Paul, these are your shout-outs. I appreciate you guys listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. So let's get back to it, guys. And welcome back to The Demon Inside. She actually turns around and comes back to the truck. As she's walking back to the truck, he gets out of the truck and tells her that she needs to leave. And she says, "No, God will forgive you," and started praying again. And he got upset because she wasn't leaving. So he pulled out his gun and he said that the monster came out at this time. The monster came out. So he shoots her in the face 3 times. And his words were, "The monster came out." Take a listen to this. This is from 2020 with John Quinones. And then it was an interview that John Quinones was doing with Captain Federico Cadron, who was one of the investigators who was interviewing him. And this guy's from Webb County. He's from the sheriff's office. And then also a Texas Ranger who is E.J. Salinas. Texas Rangers guys here in Texas are the badasses. These guys are freaking amazing. These guys deal with cases that you would not believe, okay? So, during this interview, I'm going to play it for you right now, and you're not going to believe what the Ranger says. Listen to this. Listen to Texas Ranger Salinas.
And he says these words around this time that were quite just shocking.
This is where the monster came out.
That's when the monster came out.
You could see the monster coming out?
It kind of took me back, because I don't know if you ever see the devil coming out of somebody. Kind of like that.
Does he ever tell you why he killed these women?
His claim is that he was, quote unquote, cleaning up the streets.
The first one was not planning. Right. After that, I saw it like, this sounds stupid. Like, I'm going to clean up the streets and my home is going to do it.
It's quite a contradiction.
Correct.
Isn't it?
Absolutely.
He's buying them drugs. He's paying these prostitutes himself.
Correct.
And then he claims he's trying to clean it up.
It was a poor attempt at justification for the horrible crimes he had committed.
So I was like, good people. So I convinced myself of that.
That was his mindset. That these women, based on the choices that they had made, that they did not deserve to live, and that he was in a position to be judge, jury, and executioner.
Did you hear Texas Ranger Salinas said you could see the devil coming out of him? Now, this is a respected Texas Ranger, guys. And from the way he says it, the way he sounds, he makes it sound like this isn't his first time he's ever seen the devil come out of somebody. I would love to interview this guy and see what other cases he's done that he has seen the devil come out of these people. So, after he shoots and kills his 4th victim, by this time, 4 hours have gone by. And they had found the house that Erica remembered, like I said, and they end up finding out who it belongs to. And now they end up finding out that he is an actual Border Patrol agent. Not only just a Border Patrol agent, but a intelligence Border Patrol agent. So they're looking for his truck. They send out a bolo, which is be on the lookout for his truck. They find it at a gas station, and he's inside the store, and they don't want to take him in the store because they're scared there might be a hostage situation. When he comes out, they're waiting for him, and they start giving him commands. And they tell him to raise his hands. He doesn't. He's freaking out, and he decides he's going to run. So he ends up hiding in a parking garage and runs up to the 4th floor, where he hides in a bed of a truck. While he's in there, and this comes from the prosecutors because they released these Facebook posts that he was sending during that time that he was hiding in the truck, Facebook posts that Ortiz allegedly wrote before surrendering in standoff with law enforcement. One reads, "Doc Ortiz checks out. Farewell." The other reads, "To my wife and kids, I love you." So after they find him, they pull him out. They start asking him if he is or who he is. And he's saying, "You know who I am. You know who I am." And they're like, "Where is your weapon?" He says, "I don't have one." They end up taking him, and they take him to the jail, or they take him to the police headquarters, where the investigators start talking to him. And like I said, one is the Texas Ranger, and the other is the sheriff from Webb County. So they start talking to him. And this guy, before they start talking to him, he's sitting in the interrogation room. And if you guys want to see this, it's actually on YouTube. He starts talking to one of the agents or somebody out in the hallway while he's inside sitting down. And he's laughing. And he's saying, "Hey, who were the 2 guys that were chasing me? You need to tell them that they need to start working out because I lost them really quick." He goes, "They're really out of shape." This guy was very cocky, and he was very proud of what he had done. So, as investigators start talking to him, he first says it wasn't him, and he didn't know them, and he didn't know the victims, and he didn't know what happened. One of the officers that's interrogating him says, "We have proof that you did this. We have your gun, we have the shell casings, we have your tire tracks, we're going to find DNA, we're going to have all this information about you. So tell us that we have the wrong guy." And he doesn't say anything. So then they ask him, "Why did you do it? I just want to understand. We know you did it. We just want to understand why." And one of the investigators says, "Possibly, maybe you blacked out and you don't remember." So Ortiz runs with it. And this is what a lot of killers do. They want an excuse so they don't have to take blame. He runs with the whole "I blacked out. I don't remember." Okay, now remember this. He doesn't remember because he had blacked out. But when he was talking, and he was talking about the victims, he was very proud of what he had done. Very proud of what he had done. He sounded like with conviction of, "I did this. I took her. I killed her." He talks about the first victim, that she had taken drugs in his truck, and she passed out, and he got annoyed, and he didn't know what to do, and he ended up killing her. The second victim, he says that she started feeling like something wasn't right. They started talking about the first victim. She says she got a strange feeling, and he shot her and killed her. The third victim was Erica Peña, who escaped, and Erica says that she also felt something wasn't right with this guy. Automatically, she knew, for whatever reason, that he was the killer of the 2 girls. Then he starts to say this. He talks about the monster that comes out of him. And he talks about that he was trying to clean the streets of Laredo. This guy was a vigilante who's killing prostitutes to clean the streets. He said that no one else was doing it. And for me, the demon that was either possessing him or influencing him was probably telling them, "Hey, all these people that you guys arrested are getting out and nobody is doing anything about it. This is your chance to do something, to be judge, jury, and executioner and actually make a difference." So I want to give you a little insight to what I think was in his mind at the time. Because to kill these women, he was using his service weapon. And to me, that means that he was doing something just. He was doing something right. Because as a law enforcement agent, he should have known that they would trace this .40 caliber weapon back to him or back to any law enforcement officer. So when the police are almost finished interviewing him, they ask him what most police love to ask. Is there anything else you want to tell us? Well, he says there's one that you have not found. That was his 5th victim, 4th killed. He said he again headed after the 3rd. He went back to San Bernardo Street to pick up another victim. He picked up a woman who was a transgender woman, and he put her body behind a pile of asphalt that was off to the side of the road where they had been doing construction. This was again in a span of 4 hours where he killed the last 2 victims. In total, Juan David Ortiz killed 4 women and victimized 5. If not for Erica Peña escaping, they may never have caught him, because he was actually doing investigations into his own murders and was sabotaging, or at least trying to sabotage, the investigation. He even says that when they asked him about some of the people or some of the victims, he said he looked it up on the computer and didn't find anything. So my question is this: if a demon is inside a person or influencing a person, can people sense that they are there? Because 2 of these women sensed that something wasn't right. Could it have been there? Could it have been their guardian angels or their intuition? Or could they have felt the presence of evil? Could they have felt the presence of a demon? Now, for me, guys, an evil person doesn't mean that they're possessed. An evil person is just an evil person. Sometimes when an evil person is just evil, these demons like to watch, they like to hang around, they like to see the destruction that people do to other people. Could the 2 victims, could they have sensed this and knew that something wasn't right? Also, it was also in 2 weeks that he created all this chaos. He did a lifetime of good to end up 2 weeks of killing prostitutes. Could that have been a demon? Yes. So, for me, guys, if I had to put a name to this demon, I would say it was pride. Because he was very proud of his work that he was doing. And he wanted to do it faster because he knew he was going to get caught. He wanted to make a difference. And he was very, very proud of it. He was a spree serial killer because he knew that his time was running out and he had to hurry up. And that's why he killed so many in that one day. He could have killed 3, but thank God that Erica Peña escaped and was able to testify against him. Because if not for her, maybe he would still be out there killing. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to y'all next week. Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform. A new episode of the Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on all our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside podcast at gmail.com or click on the link down below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to our website, thedemoninside.podcast.com. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time, if I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was written and created by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King. And the title song, Demon Inside, was produced by Rice Clover, composer lyricist Peter Shelley, and performed by Conjure One.